So, who's ready for another Trojan War?
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Hulkin, and thanks for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching on YouTube or wherever you like to download your podcast, we are free and we appreciate your support. I really want to appreciate you when you appreciate me. Go ahead and do me a favor, become a subscriber. It's free. Click that button. And if you like the episode, you can also hit that thumbs up. And also don't forget the notification bell. That way you'll never miss any of our 5 episodes because we come at you 5 times a week. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com. So, Troy and Sparta, they went to war. Not really. It's a mythological story, but the story has it the two nations went to war over Helen. She was the queen of Sparta and the wife of King Melanos. She left her husband and the kids for Prince Paris, Prince of the Trojans. Anyways, that's how the story goes. If you're into history, look it up. It's a fun story. Depending on where you are, again, you're making Locked On USC your first listen every day. So early Friday morning, the basketball teams from USC and Michigan State, the Trojans versus the Spartans, they went to war for a chance to move on to the round of 32. So again, depending on where you are, you've either already listened to this episode and you're getting ready for the Trojans to play Michigan State in the first round of the NCAA tournament, or if you're on the West Coast, you might be waking up and you're watching this episode or listening to this episode as the team is warming up on the court. Here's what I can give you as a little heads up for you Pac-12 basketball fans. The Arizona Wildcats, they were number 2 seed. They're done dancing. They got Princeton. It's one of those memorable moments. And the Bruins, the last time I checked, I know they won the game, but when I actually tuned in for, I think it was like 15 seconds, they were up by 2 touchdowns on North Carolina Asheville, 14-0 to start the game. And Arizona State, they are the 3rd team from the Pac-12. Excuse me, the 4th team that made the tournament. They will play on Friday as well. They won their play-in game on Wednesday when they beat the Nevada Wolfpack, coached by former UCLA Bruin head coach Steve Alford. So here's the thing. If the Trojans want to move on to the round of 32, if they can make their 3-pointers and win the battle of the rebounds, battle of the boards, they're going to advance to round 2. Sounds easy, except for the fact that USC, they don't rebound well. Well, they're inconsistent. And Michigan State, they defend the 3-ball really well. One positive note for USC, Drew Peterson is as close to healthy as he's going to be, and Boogie Ellis is playing like he's going to be a first-round draft pick. He's extended his 3-point range. He's stepping back well beyond the NBA 3-point line. And he's also shown a new fearlessness, going to the hole, learning to take the hit when he gets to the basket, and then getting back up. So it's funny. Real quick, I remember one of the first practices earlier this fall, and he got knocked to the floor. It was 5-on-5, and one of his teammates went to help him up, and I distinctly remember Coach Mobley yelling from the bench, "Don't help him up. He can get up himself. He can do it." They were trying to teach Boogie, hey, man, toughen up. Don't always look for help. Another deciding factor in this game could be the health, though, of Vince Uwachukwu, the freshman 7-footer. His back has been acting up since USC, I believe the game against Arizona. So he hasn't played in a while. Enfield said he's day-to-day, so I guess we're going to find out game day. We'll find out together. If he can play, again, it's going to be his first game versus anybody who's not wearing a Pac-12 uniform. A couple of things as far as USC and Michigan State, neither team really has a dominant player in the paint as far as offense is concerned. UCLA, USC has Josh Morgan, who's one of the leading shot blockers in the country, and Vince can also alter shots, but he's got a more, I guess between the two of him, Josh Morgan and Vince would have a better offensive skill set. Although Josh, I think, has a game. He just needs to use it. He's got a soft touch around the basket. Let's see. USC is the number 2 ranked team in the country when it comes to 2-point field goal defense. They're 10th in effective field goal percentage defense and 12th in blocked shot percentage per Ken Palm. And conversely, the Trojans are ranked 326th nationally in offensive rebound percentage and are a middle of the road 3-point shooting team, 34.5%. So, like I said, if USC can make their threes, get some rebounds, they should win this game. This is going to be the 7th time that these two teams have matched up in their history. Michigan State won the last time back in 2009. They went to the Final Four that year. Now, one thing I want you to know about Michigan State, they didn't reach the 80-point mark in their first 15 Big Ten Conference games this season. But they got hot at the end of the year. They got beat by Ohio State in their tournament, but they had scored 80 in 3 of their previous 4 games leading up to that. And the Spartans also enter postseason play as the nation's 4th best 3-point shooting team at 39.5%. Just so I mentioned this earlier in the week briefly. Teams tend to get hot against USC. That happens, I'm not going to be happy the next time you see me talking about on Locked On USC. If USC can't make their shots, the pace of the game is going to be the other deciding factor. USC ranks in the top 100 nationally in fastest average offensive possession length. They like to play much more in transition, whereas Michigan State, they like to deny transition opportunities. That's what they're known for. Here's another thing. Keep in mind, in tournament play, timeouts, you've got to be really judicious with these things. Use them carefully. There's a lot of TV timeouts. So if USC can keep their own scoreless spurts short, those TV timeouts can help them out. They've had a few of those throughout the year. Now, USC is a second half team, so we'll see if that carries over this into the tournament play. Now, as far as how USC will defend Michigan State likes to play pick and roll a lot. And you'll see that with Tyson Walker and A.J. Hoggard. They make up their backcourt. So USC also has a upperclassmen, seniors in their backcourt with Boogie and Drew Peterson. Boogie Ellis, of course. Boogie! Like I said, if those two are on and doing their thing, USC should win this game, even though Vegas has them as a 2-point underdog. Drew brings a unique skill set to the table. He's 6'9". He's long. He can play with his back to the basket. He can fade away. He can make the three. He knows how to handle the ball. And when he's playing under control and doesn't make Drew mistakes, in other words, when he leaves his feet, have a purpose. Either shoot the ball or know you're passing. Don't make a decision in midair. We'll be good. So if those two are going, that's great. They just need to make sure they're getting other players involved. Because when USC has 3 players scoring in double figures, they're usually on the positive side of the winning. I do have a feeling this is going to be a really tight game, though. As I mentioned, Sparty opened as a 2-point favorite. That's still where it's at. Here's something of note for all of you guys who like to watch your bracket. Everyone's bracket is busted. Every year since 2008, a number 10 seed, and USC is a 10 seed, has managed to upset a number 7 seed in March. Last year, by the way, Miami was a 10 seed. They beat USC 7 seed. Let's see if USC can flip the script this year. Now, I mentioned USC is going to need to control the pace to beat Michigan State. And I think the matchup favors the Trojans in that regard. Michigan State likes to run a slower pace, so they're going to have less room for error. If they're going to try and run that slower pace and they're not making shots and USC can win the boards, that's a recipe for a win. And here's another thing. If Andy Enfield can get this victory, it would put a pretty nice feather in his cap for the next time these two future big conference foes are going to meet starting in 2024. Plus, it will give Troy a 4-3 advantage in their head-to-head battles. Plus, they get to play again on Sunday in the round of 32. The football team is going to return to spring camp on Tuesday the 21st. I'll have some football stuff, which is really going to be recruiting stuff, coming up on the next segment. But first, we're going to talk about FanDuel. It's the perfect time. It's the midway point of the NBA season. So head on over to FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Why? Well, number one, because new customers are going to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. So just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, it's secure, it's super easy to use. Then bet on everything from the money line to the point scores. Who made the most three-pointers in the game? Add up your prop bets. And that way, because you're using FanDuel, they allow you to combine your bets, and you're going to get a chance for a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, go grab your bracket and go listen to the Locked On College Basketball Breakdown with national analysis and insights from our local experts. The Locked On College Basketball Bracket Breakdown has everything you need to make the most informed decisions on your bracket. You're going to find this episode on Locked On College Basketball wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. And again, it's the halfway point of the show. Thank you to everyone who's made Locked On USC their first listen every single day, or at least 5 times a week. From the hard court, back to football. All right, if you haven't heard, I mentioned it on a previous episode of Locked On USC this week. USC is having a huge recruiting event this weekend. At least 40 plus, and the list is growing. And this is before Friday. By the time Friday rolls around, that list is going to be longer. There's some 7-on-7 events. There's a 5-on-5 event going on in the area for defensive and offensive linemen. So recruits, when they're in Rome, kids from all over the country, they're going to come visit USC. I mean, some of them are going to get offers. Most of them won't. But, they get a chance to tell their friends back at school, hey, yeah, you know what? I was at USC's campus. Pretty cool. You need to check it out. Not everybody is good enough to play football at USC, but everybody is good enough to earn the opportunity to go to USC. So it's those little things that kind of spread the word, get some positive vibes. But here's a list of just some of the visitors that are going to be, who are planning to visit USC this weekend. 2024 5-star defensive lineman David Stone from IMG Academy in Florida. You always want to have your hands in the IMG talent pool. A lot of times, some of the kids are from your area in Southern California. They head out to IMG. It is literally, it's a boarding school training camp for whatever your preferred sport is: football, basketball, baseball, tennis, whatever. They will get you prepared to take the next step. 2024, four-star edge defender Booker Pickett from Wharton High School, Florida. I told you about him on yesterday's episode. That's Big Mike, BMW's Mike Williams, former player, who he told to keep UCLA to himself. 2024 interior offensive lineman Walt Clare. I also mentioned him. Excuse me. 2024 offensive lineman, Mater Dei High School, Brandon Baker. I don't know. Does USC need to pick it up with him in his recruitment? Depending on who you listen to, USC might. Well, he's going to be on campus this weekend. Another guy from the class of 2024, offensive tackle, Marquise Easley. You might have remembered that name. I mentioned him about a week or so ago in our little recruiting update. He's from Illinois, and he's really tight with Cortland Ford, current offensive tackle, left tackle for USC. Another interior offensive lineman from that class of 24, Preston Tamua from Aya High School in Hawaii. Now, here's a really cool thing. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. When the kids come over from the islands, they hit the mainland and they stay for an extended period of time, 2-3 weeks, sometimes a month, to get in as many visits as possible. They do these 7-on-7 events because otherwise it becomes just an expensive weekend to fly 5,000 miles each way to get to USC and back. So these guys, these young men, they'll hit the mainland. They'll do the 7-on-7. They'll make campus visits. It's their spring break plus. The name Jason Mitchell II, St. John Bosco High School. You might remember his dad played wide receiver at USC in the early 2000s. You may also remember Jason Mitchell II. He tweeted that he was transferring to Bosco from Gardena Sarah. And I kind of talked about it. It came across poorly. I don't think high school players should be tweeting that they're grateful for being developed up through their junior season, but they're taking their senior year to these other programs kind of as a rent-a-player. They're using the transfer portal in high school. Yeesh. Anyways, moving forward, don't want to get caught up in that too much. Another 2024 edge player, Jalen Harvey. He's from Quince Orchard High School in Maryland. That area is, kind of near where Caleb Williams is from. Marshawn Lloyd, another guy who just transferred to USC from South Carolina University, but he's from that area. You've got 2024 interior offensive lineman Freddie Pierre-Louis, depending on how you want. I'm going to go with Pierre-Louis. He plays at Tampa Catholic in Florida. Dude looks badass in a good way. You got to go check out his picture on WeAreSC. He's got his arms crossed. Just looks like a big bad dude. Looks like a gooch. Kind of guy you want blocking for you. As I mentioned, a lot of guys who are going to be coming, they don't have offers, and they'll be looking to get one. And I have no idea if this next guy is going to get one, but his name deserves one as far as I'm concerned. 2024, he's a 3-star wide receiver from Indiana, but his name is Nitarian Tuggle. I don't know why. The name just popped out. I love it. Nitarian Truggle. I like it. There's also going to be a laundry list of guys from 2025 and 2026. As you know, my rule of thumb, I'm not interested in those guys. I'm not interested in juniors. I like to know who they are. I'm definitely not interested in sophomores. Uh, I like to get familiar with their names, but until they're entering their senior season of high school, don't care. So hope no one gets offended by that. It's just the way I look at things because so much changes from their junior to their senior year. Number one, interest level and player interest level. So again, I like just to narrow down the field for my own sake. I mentioned on yesterday's episode that I was planning to go to a 7-on-7 event in Mesa, Arizona on Sunday. Someone also asked if Deuce Robinson and Dylan Raiola would be playing together. Well, number one, Deuce is too old, so no, he won't be playing in the tournament. And Dylan may or may not be at USC this weekend. Pretty sure he will be, since I'm pretty sure he's going to be in SoCal this weekend. Regardless, I'll have updates on some of the stuff that went on over the weekend, recruiting wise, once their feedback starts to roll in. So I'll make sure to tie up some of that stuff in one or more episodes of Locked on USC next week. As well, you got spring camp coming back again, starting on Tuesday the 21st, and with schools around the country taking their spring break, there'll be more recruits stopping by on their own dime when USC is practicing. Then again, in this day and age, who knows how these trips are being financed. Regardless, USC is not paying for them. Let me make that very clear. Wink, wink. All right. The built March Madness bracket is here. We know you have a favorite bar or puff, and now's your time to make it count. Go to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorite. builtmarchmadness.com. It's a mouthful. You know who I'm going to be voting for? I'm voting for either cookies and cream and the double chocolate bar puff. I'm a big chocolate guy. If you want USC to win, then you'll be supporting that bar too. Support your team, support your bar or puff. And when you vote for your favorite bar or puff, you'll be entered into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. Not only that, one Locked On fan will win a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your front door. How cool is that? Still, you got to try Built. Built, the best protein bar ever. Seriously, they're so amazing, you won't even think they're good for you. And what makes them so good, those Built bars and puffs? Well, for starters, I talked about it. They're all high in protein, they're low in sugar, but they're all covered in 100% real chocolate. Real chocolate. So run to builtmarchmadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March, so hop in and support your pick. All right, it's a Friday episode of Locked on USC, and I want to rant about something, but there's just not a whole lot out there right now, kind of scratching my skin, irritating me. And look, I'm about to try and rant. My heart's really not into it, but again, there's not a lot to get upset about. But here we go. Some of you are old enough to remember when Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush were running LA, hanging out, getting security details, escorting them from the practice field back to the locker room, and literally wherever they went, they needed their own private security detail. Back then, Matt Leinart and Dwayne Jarrett, wide receiver, 4th and 9, you remember him, Notre Dame fan, they got in trouble for sharing a luxury apartment, I'm doing finger quotes, that Matt Leinart's parents were able to pay for. Well, the big to-do was, Dwayne Jarrett's getting something that not everybody else at USC would be able to get. So again, these are the little stupid NCAA rules that USC tried to follow. did their best to enforce. And you may remember Reggie Bush was driving a 6'4" Impala. And then eventually, when you added everything up, Matt Leinart, Dwayne Jarrett, female tennis players using the USC's phone. USC was down 30 scholarship players for their football program. Yeah. Now, all that type of stuff, that stuff's encouraged. I mean, you got agents, you got representatives setting it up. Heck, Caleb Williams has his people setting up catwalk schedules for him. You heard me correct. Caleb Williams is the boss. Period. I mean, he's already won the Heisman as a sophomore, and he's going to be the number 1 overall draft pick in next year's NFL draft a year from now. Today, literally the other day, he was walking the catwalk being too sexy for himself, doing a Hugo Boss fashion show. Okay. Because the song is stuck in my head, you need to go look it up on YouTube. So Caleb Williams, he appeared at the show alongside with Naomi Campbell. I recognize that name. Pamela Anderson. I definitely recognize that name. Law Roach. No idea. Khaby Lame. No clue. DJ Khaled. I've heard of him. I know who that dude is. Alicia Schmidt. I think I know who she is. Yusra Mardini. No idea. Precious Lee. I like the name. Ibitash Muhammad. Sorry. And Ezra Fresh. And then also, according to Hugo Boss, more than 500 invited guests, including VIPs. Demi Lovato, Bella Thorne. I'm not going to go through the list of names. The fact that I only recognize like 4 or 5 names out of these names that are listed here, that's what bothers me. I'm not that far out of the loop, but I have no idea who half these people are. And I don't know if I should be embarrassed or not. The fact that I recognize, like I said, the fact that the first thing that popped into my head was an 80s song from Right Said Fred doing the catwalk. I'm too sexy for myself. I think that bothers me. Go look it up on YouTube. None of this is going to bother me. As far as what Caleb is doing off the field, all these appearances, as long as it doesn't distract from the goal, his goal of making a playoff before he heads off to the NFL. He's talked about that. But, making the playoffs is also USC's goal. So he's going to have to be able to balance his schedule. As I said, I think I might be bothered the most by the song that's stuck in my head. It's a one-hit wonder. Right Said Fred from the 80s. Check it out on YouTube. Believe it or not, that song was actually really popular on the radio. I'm going to be back in Vegas in July. It's going to be the last Pac-12 Media Day. Yeah, it's going to be hot. But you know what else? And I'm not going to rant about it. I'll be indoors. I don't care. But here's an update for you guys. Go ahead and make your reservations for Vegas. It's going to be a hot day in that day. September 1st, 2024. The time and date has been set. USC and LSU in Las Vegas. Football. The game will take place on Sunday, September 1st, 2024. The game will kick off at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time on ABC TV. And like I mentioned, at least that game's going to be indoors. And hopefully USC will actually have had one inside Allegiant Stadium before they meet LSU, meaning they're winning the conference championship game in December of 2023. Oh, here's something. USC fans, did you hear? Snoop Dogg. He's back on the USC bandwagon. Yeah, I'm not really, well, should I rant? No, I'm not going to rant about this. Snoop Dogg used to rep pretty strong back in the day when Pete Carroll was emceeing for the Trojans. Then Snoop's kid got snubbed and get that Scully, and he ended up choosing UCLA. You might remember Snoop and his kid doing this big production on ESPN. Well, it wasn't very long thereafter, Snoop's kid quit football. His heart was never into it. That's the reason why USC never offered. Nevertheless, I said Snoop's back on the bandwagon. He released his March Madness bracket. And check it out. The good news, USC fans, he has USC making the Elite Eight. That would be the second time in 3 years. And Andy Enfield's the head coach. He doesn't get enough props. He also has UCLA going to the Final Four. Okay. Wash that bitterness out of your mouth, Snoop. I get it, though. UCLA's, they're playing really well down the stretch, so I understand where he's coming from. But here's the thing. If USC gets into the Elite Eight again, I'm not going to be satisfied. I mean, I will, but I won't. I need to get to the Final Four in my lifetime. Please. It hasn't happened for USC since 1954. I wasn't alive then. Nevertheless, that's it. We're done. We'll talk about what happened in the tournament. But I want to say thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. For your second listen, go check out our brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Experts Isaac Schad and Andy Patton. They're going to bring you everything you need to know on and off the court. We're in March Madness. Get into it. Follow USC. Plus, you're going to hear from big-name experts, coaches, and players throughout the basketball landscape, maybe even me. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. There it is. That's it. Another episode. It's in the books. I'll be back with another 5 episodes starting next week. Until then, everyone, you know what to do.